We're like one step closer to Christmas and the holidays and all of that madness. So, welcome in. I am in Maryland, and I always like to hear where everybody else is coming in from. So, if you want to tell me where you're coming in from, I would love to know that. Where are you guys all at? We're going to talk about insulin resistance today. I'm doing some more listening to doctors and doing some more research on this whole Ozempic versus a natural form debate, and it's interesting what's coming up, and more doctors are starting to realize that it's not a long-term solution. It isn't a cure. By the way, I've listened to so many doctors, and I just listened to Ozempic stuff and Monjaro and Wegovy and stuff because I want to know. Um, so it's not fixing anything. It's allowing you to lose some weight. But one of the most alarming things that I heard from those medications from some doctors that I was just listening to are that you are losing a large amount of muscle to lose the weight that you're seeing get lost on the scale. Because they had that question, and I've had this question, so I got to go back and look at it. Because when I talk about those solutions, I use a natural solution for my diabetes and all the things above. But I kept thinking, well, if the insulin is forcing more energy into the cells, it's got to include fat cells. And how are people losing fat? Well, it's causing you to deplete muscle as well as some fat cells. So you're losing a lot of weight, not because you're losing a ton of fat, but because you're losing a lot of muscle. And is that how you want to lose weight? I don't know. You guys think about that and tell me. Do you want to lose the fat on your body, or do you want to start depleting the muscle that's on your body? How would you want to lose your weight? Give me a 1 for fat, give me a 2 for muscle, because I think this is important information for people to know. We get so focused on the scale, and weight loss, by the way, is not the entirety of your health. I also heard some doctors talking about fat and obesity and how they found several people who are obese and don't have any health issues. So the size of your body is not always an indicator of your health, although it most often is. So what I talk about here is insulin resistance because it's the number one thing that's causing obesity and health issues along with it. And so I want people to understand what it is and how we can fix it and what it all links into, because it's so much more than just body fat. And if that's where you're stuck thinking about it, we want to open up your eyes and let you know that all of this stuff, the brain fog, the fatigue, the fibromyalgia, definitely fat, Joy says, all of this is linked in. So let's talk about a couple of things with insulin resistance, and then we'll dive into what it is. If you guys don't know what it is, we're going to talk about that in very simplified terms. So number one, when you're losing weight and you're insulin resistant, let's just step back. When you're insulin resistant, you have a depletion of your muscle anyway, because the cells in your body are resistant to this hormone called insulin that's delivering energy to the cells of the body. And that just triggered something else that was interesting I just heard. But so your muscle cells are already starting to deplete. Your connective tissue, your bones are starting to deplete because they can't get the energy they need to regenerate. So in an insulin resistant state, you already have less muscle than fat to begin with. And then you start doing calorie restriction, right? Um, or extreme workouts, and you're losing. Even the extreme workouts can help you with being insulin sensitive to a point, but it's also raising your cortisol. So that's raising your sugar, yada, yada. So what happens when you're insulin resistant and you take the normal methods of trying to lose weight is you're actually depleting more muscle tissue to get to some fat tissue. And what we really want to do, and I think everybody agrees, we want to get to the fat. So we need to start addressing our metabolism and how our body deals with energy so that we can lose the fat, keep the muscle, and gain our health back. I think that's what everybody really wants. And these drugs are not doing that for you. So I'm going to wrap that up really quickly. And I'm not the expert on the drugs. I listen to the doctors who talk about this, and these are the things that I've heard and know from the doctors who work with and talk about Ozempic. Now, I'm going to be very honest. There's a doctor who reached out to me who does some fasting methods. In extreme cases, he does use some Ozempic, and so I'm a little conflicted about whether whether to work with him or not. However, he also advocates for a system like I use. What we do know is that insulin resistance wreaks havoc on your body, whether you're a year insulin resistant or 30 years insulin resistant looks very differently. And so your body's going to have different challenges the longer you've been insulin resistant. Back to fat loss, weight loss. Ozempic, Mounjaro, Wegovy, all of those. So there's a couple of actions they're doing. They're creating this glucagon-like peptide in your body, which, by the way, this tea gives me some of that as well. Maybe not in the same dose that they're giving to you in the Wegovy and the Ozempic, but that's why I drink this a couple of times a day. It helps shut down my hunger, both in my gut and in my brain. So that's a dual action that we really want to have. I just did a video from Dr. Huberman a couple of days ago. Go check that out. But this tea actually has those properties in it. Dr. Huberman talks about yerba mate tea and its benefits of acting like a GLP-1 without all of the side effects or the negative stuff that those medications are pumping into you. So they're shutting down your hunger, and that's the biggest way that they're causing the weight loss. But I've talked about this before, they're also forcing insulin into the cells of the body. And almost every doctor that I've listened to that's really looked at the long-term effects of these is saying that that can't be good, and that they're waiting, to see what happens in 10 or 20 years after this whole push to these drugs happens, and see what happens to people. But a couple of the doctors have already been talking about things like the pancreas shutting down. Now, when the pancreas shuts down, you can't produce insulin at all, and that's horrible because that's how type 1 diabetics end up diabetic. So by doing those drugs, there is a risk. I'm not saying that that's going to happen to everyone, but there is a risk that you go from type 2 diabetes to type 1 when you overload your pancreas. So then when we take a look at that forcing of the energy into the cells, some of it is going back into your fat cells. So you're losing a little fat, you're losing more muscle, right? Because the cells of the muscles are just not taking up the energy like they should. The more insulin resistant you become, the more those cells become resistant to it. I always talk about moving your body. That's one of the best ways without medication that you can start to get more insulin sensitive besides controlling your sugars. So you guys move, just move. I don't care. Like, I walked in a parade and was outside in the cold. This cold exposure works too. You got to get that metabolism rolling. You got to get your body adjusting. Those are simple ways to start helping your body. If you're always in a high heat environment and you're not moving, you're likely becoming more and more insulin sensitive just because you're not moving and your body doesn't need to have that metabolic flexibility. So the drugs, some of the things, the pancreas, we know that there is a ton of lawsuits out there because of people losing their gallbladder. Fasting is most beneficial. So if you've followed me for any time at all, I am a big advocate of fasting. I love the 16/8 fast, but those of us who have been insulin resistant longer, if you've been around, you've seen that I've done a 5-day fast, a 7-day fast, a 10-day fast. I've done an every other day fast. I'm going to be doing some different types of fasting over the next month. By the way, in January, I am going to go do the every other day fast again. Anyone who wants to join me, let me know, and we'll talk about that fast. It's actually pretty simple, but you really get into a state where your body can start utilizing all the good stuff that fasting gives to you. It really starts to kick in around hour 22, 24. So when you just add 12 extra hours of these upgraded ketones, of the gut turning over, all of that, you start to see some real benefits. And look, I'm going to show you guys a picture, and hopefully it illustrates a little bit of what fasting can do for you and the system. I've been doing this protocol for about 2 years now. Let's get this. Let me get myself under control. And let's take a look at this. So you guys, this was me when I started the protocol. So not only did I have fat on my face, my skin looked different. My hair was falling out. Actually, you can't tell in this picture, but my hair was falling out. I was losing my eyesight. I had bleeding teeth and gums. This was me 3 years ago. Okay. So that's some of the difference that fasting has made for me. I look different now. When I first lost weight, I had this big, I called it turkey neck. Do I still have some loose skin under here? I'm almost 60. Yes, I do. Am I working on getting that gone? Yes, I am. Oop. And guess what? Intermittent fasting, along with the protocol, is going to help me that. Why along with the protocol? The protocol that I use is giving me nutrients, things like triterpenoids, saponins, chlorogenic acids that are helping with my brain and my body function, but it's also helping me with my gut microbiome and therefore helping with my skin and a number of other issues that happen as we age. I don't use an app for fasting. I don't use an app for fasting. I did our own, we have an app with the protocol. I did do that for a while, but I've been doing it for so long that it just doesn't. Random stranger, hold on, I gotta catch back up to these comments. Started yesterday. Yeah, so Christina, tell me about what you think about the yerba mate, the unamate that we drank. Did it taste good to you? What are your thoughts on it so far? Most people, the first day they drink it, notice a huge increase in energy, a decrease in appetite and hunger, and I've gotten calls from people that are like, what is this stuff? Are you sure that it's natural? Yeah, it is. It's just a really highly concentrated form of yerba mate. And you said you didn't even think about eating until 8 hours of fasting. Yeah. So just adding the yerba mate has that GLP-1 action of shutting down your hunger. So when you start drinking it, you're like, wow, I'm not hungry. So not only does it affect those pathways of GLP-1, so your gut feeling a little distended, you're feeling full, you're not hungry, your brain getting the energy through the chlorogenic acids that it needs, now you're not hungry again, but it's also kicking up ketones in your system, so your body is cueing in a fasted state to use fat for energy. So now you have the energy you need and you have decreased hunger, and that's why this particular tea is working so well for so many people. Um, so random stranger, I think you probably have already hopped out, says he loves fasting, lost 100 pounds in 8 months with fasting and switching to zero processed food. And look, I'm all for that, but most people just are not there yet. And so like, you guys, if you can do that, go do that. I applaud that. I tried stuff like that and I lasted for a while, but it didn't last forever. And Joy said you started yesterday, left the house and forgot the tea at home. Um, I Let me answer this question. So, all right. Um, oh, great, random stranger. Let's talk about fasting some more. But it's this tea that you get. I will drop the link over here on Facebook. So Joy over on Facebook says, let me get the link for them. What she said is, I love the tea. Yesterday she left the house and forgot the tea at home. And how long after you mix it is the tea still good to drink? So the tea comes like this, guys. It's 375 times more potent than those bagged yerba mate teas that you have to steep. And the cool thing is you can just add it to a bottle of water, shake it up and go. I'm a nut, so I have it hot. By the way, if you're already using the tea, hot is the best for weight loss, but it's also going to give you that morning motility that you want to get that junk out of your colon. So hot first thing in the morning. You can drink it cold, but if you want the biggest benefits, drink it hot. And I also have it iced here for when I'm done with my hot, because I do drink more than one a day. It's just a healthier alternative for me than any other drink, and giving my body a whole bunch of good stuff like the chlorogenic acids, triterpenoids, saponins, big words that I can explain later on. So that's the tea, and this is the link. But it's more than just the tea, you guys. When we're talking about all of this, I want everybody to think about, there's 2 steps to the system I do to address insulin resistance. And the 2 steps are the tea in the morning, and I actually drink it all day now, and the pre-meal drink that I have before I eat. So the tea shuts down my hunger, gives me all the benefits we've been talking about. The pre-meal drink feeds my probiotics in my gut, helps me feel full longer, and regulates my blood sugars. So fat loss, metabolism, GLP-1 type hunger control, and this is to so basically weight loss, but also increased mental energy. And this is for sugars and fats and regulating that in your system. This is not the same as regular herbal mate tea, and I appreciate that question, Sherry Lee. So, although they come from the same plant, there's some differences with this tea that I'll cover right now. So this tea is herbal mate, but like I said, it's 375 times more potent than the herbal mate that you're getting in the bag tea. Let's go through the process of this. First of all, ours is hand-picked. They only grab the leaves that are ripe at the right point in time for us to eat them. Not too green, not overripe, but just the right time. So they're not machine harvested, they're hand-picked by farmers in Argentina who own their own farms. Then we take it to a process where we fire roast it to release the components that are most beneficial to you out of the bulk of the tea so that they're more readily available to you and usable. Then we concentrate it. So now it's 375 times because we've stripped it from all the other stuff, and then or we extract it and then concentrate it. Now the last step we do with this tea, and Dr. Huberman talked a little bit about that, is we send it to a lab in Switzerland to put it through a process called hyperpure, because we're very aware of some of the things that the toxins and stuff that can occur with the herbal mate teas. So it strips back out things like the PAHs from fire roasting, environmental pesticides and toxins. So now a tea that's 375 times stronger, more potent than the bag tea that you get, extremely pure and clean, so you're not getting all the negative benefits that can come along with those teas. That's what the difference is. So when I think about it, let's titrate it back to say we were only talking 30 times the benefit, 30 times, 30 of the regular tea. Can you imagine steeping 30 bags of tea in a day to get the benefits from the tea? And when I'm just mixing this in water and drinking it down. Let's see what she says. 375, caffeine. Okay, no. So there still is in this only about the same amount of caffeine as in a cup of coffee. Yes, the system does do so much more than lose weight. I normally don't talk about use weight. So yeah, Unicity is great, and it is about $5 a day. All right, so what about the caffeine? Let's talk about caffeine, why this is different than the caffeine in your cup of coffee, even though this at 375 times more potent than a normal herbal mate tea, it still only has about the same amount of caffeine in it as a cup of coffee. So 80 to 120 grams of caffeine that's naturally occurring in the plant. So caffeine, gives you that like high energy and the jitters. And Sherry Lee, I was really concerned about it at first too, because my blood pressure was so out of control that I was like, what on earth are you doing? Why would you be doing this when you're already at risk? Your right arm is going numb. You're at risk for your ticker giving out, and now you're adding this drink in, which is giving you so much energy. And why would you do that? All right, so let me go to my visuals and see if I can pull these up for you guys really quick. So 3 things called adaptogens are added, or are not added, let me rephrase that, are contained in the caffeine molecule in this. And what they do when they attach to that caffeine molecule, they change how it acts in your body. And those 3 things make this more balanced. So if you think about a tightrope, somebody walking a tightrope and they've got a stick and they're balancing, and you put coffee on one end, now your energy balance is going like this. So coffee has a little bit of chlorogenic acids in it, so it starts to kind of balance that back out, but not enough to get you balanced again when you're walking this tightrope in life. What with the herbal mate tea or the Unimate tea, not only does it have a little chlorogenic acids, it has a lot more than coffee, so it starts to balance more. Then it has these other couple that I'm going to talk about, including mate saponins or triterpenoid saponins and theobromine, that now it takes this balance bar and puts you back in balance. So the caffeine isn't like what I say, throwing you up against the wall and dropping you to the floor. It's this really great energy. Plus, those components are healthy for your apart. So it changes the way the caffeine molecule is in your body. And the locals call it morphine instead of caffeine because it acts and feels so differently in the body and reacts to the body differently. In fact, we have a cardiologist in Wisconsin who prescribes the system to every single patient that comes through because he's seen how much it does for insulin resistance and for blood pressure. Okay, I hope, does that answer any of that for you? Okay, you guys, so let's get back to this whole thing about medications and whatnot. By the way, let's do this one. This was me, you guys. The picture on the left was me when I started, and before I knew anything about insulin resistance, I just knew I was sick. So I was about 270 pounds, a blood pressure of 180 over 150 at some point during every day. The best we could get it to was 150 over 110, and I was suffering. I was literally dying from the inside out, and the doctors couldn't figure out what was going on with me. But that's me on the left. In the middle was about a year in. I'd lost 55 pounds. I was able to get rid of the cane and the walker that I was using before I started the system. I would never go anywhere unless I had a cart to push or something to hold on to because my legs were giving out. They would give out on me in the middle of walking, and it was dangerous for me to be places. Plus, it was just painful to get out and do stuff. So that changed for me, and I was able to get back into the gym. I haven't been working out for the last couple of months because I've been busy. I'm moving in 2 weeks because of internet issues here, and when I get there, I intend to start working out again. It's so good for you in your life. Okay, so that's me from walker, cane, wheelchair, not wheelchair, but the disability plates to being able to work out. I can go up and down stairs without handrails. I walked through an entire parade this weekend with my grandson, stand out in the cold for 3 hours beforehand, and I survived. I couldn't have done that 2.5 years ago. But it also means that, if I had done, like, I have a friend, to be honest, and I was quite shocked, and I love her dearly. But she told me, she's like, yeah, Misha, I've lost so much weight. And I said, well, that's great. How did you lose the weight? And she goes, oh, my doctor gave me this great drug, and she couldn't remember the name. And I said, well, was it Ozempic? And she said, yes. And so then I started talking to her about the downside of Ozempic, which we were just talking about, Wegovy, Mounjaro, all of those things. They're all a little bit different, but they all have this GLP-1 agonist action, which is shutting down hunger, but they're also increasing the insulin in your system. So the dangerous part to me is, and one of the doctors said it so clearly, if you're not addressing the food that caused the problem in the first place, you're not fixing the problem. And those drugs don't fix the food that we have. Now, our food environment is horrible. We all know that our food throughout the world, our food environment is horrible. And I also saw some statistics. I got to get them back, but let's ask a question. What country in the world do you guys think is the most obese country in the world? You want to type your answer into the chat for me? It'll be interesting to hear what you guys think. The most obese country, or the country with the most problems for obesity in the world, is who? I'm in the US. I'm not sure where you guys are at, but where do you guys think that problem is the most prevalent in the world? TB says USA. Anybody else have some input? What's the most obese country in the world, or the problem country with the most obesity? Would you guys be interested to know that? And I don't know the countries above because I just, like I said, I have to go back and get these statistics, and I will get that done. But would you be surprised to know that the US ranks about 14th on that scale? There are 13 countries who have bigger problems with obesity than we do in the US. Some of them are island nations, but actually, and when we talk about, I don't know why my mouth isn't working right. When we talk about insulin resistance, China has a bigger problem than we do, and so does the UK. So the US takes a lot of heat for it, and I'm going to say our country, you know, we have a lot of the companies that have done the biggest work on modifying our food. I get that, but we are not the top country. Could we do better? Yes. But the point is that you guys, everybody on the outside looking in, don't think that this is just a US problem, because we're only 14th on that scale. Everybody would think that we're first on that scale of who has the biggest insulin problem, who has the biggest weight problem, and it's not the US. So if it's not the US and there are other countries worldwide who are having this problem, it's something we all need to pay attention to, okay? So yeah, Sean. Hey, Sean, we need to talk. I texted you back the last few days. We've probably been busy for both of us, but I do want to help you. So let's figure out how to talk this week. Okay, or today, even after the live. If you've got time, let me know when you want to talk, and you can type it into the chat, and I'll try and make time today, because I really do want to connect with you. Okay, guys, so when we talk about insulin resistance, let's go back and talk about what insulin resistance is. And we know that food is causing the problem. I just kind of gave that up, right? So insulin resistance is, okay, perfect. I will call you after the live. So what I'm talking about is our food, you guys, is converting into energy in our system more rapidly than it's supposed to, and that's causing this need for insulin. What is insulin? Insulin is a hormone, and its primary job is to deliver energy to the body. There's a couple of things that I've learned in the last day or so that are just amazing. One of them is, yes, we start to become insulin resistant throughout the body at the same time, but some cells become insulin resistant quicker than others, and some cells take more of the load than others, and the liver is one. One interesting statistic a doctor shared that I just heard is that a fourth of the world, not the US, the world is having non-alcoholic fatty liver problems. A fourth, 2 billion people worldwide are suffering from liver issues that are related to our food. Then we look at things like, are fructose and glucose the same? No, they're not. We can get glucose from proteins. We can get glucose from vegetables. We can get glucose from a number of other sources. Fructose is primarily coming from our fruits. And this is why I talk about, I love fruits. I'm not going to bastardize them, but I do want you guys to be more careful with them, because they're high in this thing called fructose. Fructose puts a higher load on your liver. And when you're putting that higher load on your liver, now there's a number of other things that are starting to go wrong in your body. But the fructose just converts differently. It's also affecting the mitochondria, or the little cells in the body that create energy. Glucose helps with mitochondria. Fructose does not. So fructose is causing your liver to get stalled up and a number of other things to happen. So I love fruit, but I treat it as a dessert. I treat it as a treat. I don't like have big bowls of fruit for breakfast. I see people doing that all the time. Maybe your genetics can deal with that, maybe not. Genetics do play a part in all of this as well, but the family history of how we eat plays just as big a part. Okay? Insulin resistance. When we're eating every 2 hours, because this is what you hear other people talking about, and when you listen to doctors, to metabolic scientists, they will tell you this thing that these trainers are telling you about eat every 2 hours, it's insane. In fact, the doctor that I am considering working with has a video out where he talks about that. He bought into that. He did the eat every 2 hours, and yeah, he lost some weight at first, but then over time he started noticing he was gaining fat. He wasn't able to maintain that weight loss, and he was like, what's going on? But by that time he'd kind of destroyed his metabolism and had to figure out how to get it back. And that's what I warn about on this channel all the time. Eating every 2 hours is not helping your metabolism. It's destroying it. You may notice some weight loss at the beginning because of differences in caloric intake. He didn't maintain the weight loss due to eating too much. So there's a big misnomer about that. Calories do matter, right? But genetics and hormones matter more. You can take a person whose hormones are out of whack and they're eating 15 to 1800 calories and gain weight, but you can take that same person and get some of these hormones, including insulin, back in control, and they will lose weight at the same amount of calories. Was it the calories that caused them to gain weight, or were there some other factors? No. Uh, the deficit has more to do with your hormones and how those calories are used in. So go check out B. I'm not going to argue with you anymore. So go check out metabolic scientist Dr. Bickman and see what he says about the calories in, calories out. Check out guys like Dr. Yao, who say calories don't count, how we got that wrong and why, and about all the stuff that I'm talking about with hormones, or gene eating, why that all of our genes and hormones matter. Like, yeah, if you're eating 5,000 calories a day, you're going to gain weight. But what about the person who has an active lifestyle, who is a mid-range size, and they're eating 1,800 to 2,000 calories and they're gaining weight on that? That has to do with hormones and dropping down to 1,500 calories. So when we talk about this whole thing, I've had this argument with my son, and now he's starting to figure it out. But when we start titrating down our calories below what our body needs, and we do that for long term, we're actually slowing down the metabolism. So that calorie restriction that people are talking about actually starts to get your metabolism to slow down, because it's saying we're getting less energy, so we need to expend less energy. We got to reserve some. So now your metabolism slows down, meaning that the food you eat slows down. So you go from 1,800 calories to 1,500 calories. Now your body resets at 1,500 calories. You're stuck, or you even start gaining weight when you start to go above that. So you titrate it down a little bit more. And then over time, your body titrates back down. It only takes a couple of weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, for your metabolism to slow down with these calorie restrictive thermodynamics type eating, but it can take 6 years to get that metabolism built back up. So why not start addressing the fact that different people metabolize differently, that we need to pay attention to things like insulin, hormones that are really at the control of our weight. So there's things like leptin and ghrelin, the hunger and satiety hormones, cortisol, your stress hormone. They all play a role too, and insulin resistance messes with all of or insulin messes with all of those hormones. The best idea to have a sustainable life is to get all of those hormones in balance, and then understand that, yeah, when you're putting too much sugar in your body, you're going to have problems. So there's that. But there's a ton of information out there now talking about this whole, I'm going to call it the thermodynamics, because that was the word that was thrown out, view, and how it didn't work. In fact, you guys, I had doctors who had just told me that, like, if you lost weight, all of the stuff that you were suffering with would get better. I worked with a nutritionist. It wasn't working. I worked with a gym guy who had that same idea. He wrote my workouts. We plugged in all of my food. Every single bite I ate into a food tracker. We tracked all my macronutrients. I tracked my micronutrients. I still wasn't able to lose weight because there were some other hormonal imbalances. My thyroid was off. My estrogen was off. All of these other hormones were off. And guess what? Without this extreme calorie restriction, I just did a hormone panel, and my hormones, for by and large, are all mid-range now, except for my estrogen and progesterone were too high, because I was doing some hormone replacement therapy thinking that they were too low. But just by addressing my insulin, my thyroid hormones are, for the first time in over 30 years, at a normal level. My cortisol is even at a normal level throughout the day until the very evening, which there was no point during the day where my cortisol was normal before. And so by addressing my insulin, all of that happened in my body, which allowed me to lose 55 pounds. Yes, I still have some weight to lose. I'm not hiding that fact, but I still have some hormones and some inflammation and some other issues to deal with that have nothing to do with calories. I do a lot of intermittent fasting. I watch I mean, I don't do macro counting so much anymore, but I counted my calories and my macros one day just to see like what's going on, or just reality. What are you doing to your diet? And I still am at about 1,800 calories a day, and I'm still resistant to losing more weight than I've lost. That has more to do with hormones, genes, trauma throughout my life than it does with any kind of calorie restriction. Yep, eating once a day. So I'm actually, again, those of you guys who are interested in doing some fasting, some bumped up fasting, with the protocol that I use, I recommend 16-8. You're starting to get some fat loss and some of the benefits from fasting at about hour 14. So 16 hours is attainable for most people. It gives you those couple of extra hours of fat burning and gut reset. So Dr. Bickman talks about it all the time. We just are not meant to eat as often as we eat. What did he call it? Bonkers. It's bonkers to think that we should be eating as much as we try to eat. And that's the real problem. So even when you're counting calories and you're eating 2 small meals, let's talk about what's happening when you're eating, 6 small meals every 2 hours. Every time you eat something besides fats, you're bumping up your insulin because your body's converting it into energy or glucose. When your body senses glucose in your system, it's creating the need for insulin to carry the energy. Good morning from Buffalo. Thank you. Thank you, one hot teddy bear. Thank you so much. So every time you eat, then every time you put food in your mouth, unless it's a fat like avocado oil, coconut oil, butter can increase it a little bit, but those things don't increase your insulin levels because they're not increasing the glucose. But even proteins like red meat, chicken, fish can increase the glucose in your system. So when you're doing this, eat every 2 hours and watch your calories. By the way, fat has a ton of calories, but it helps you burn fat and doesn't increase your insulin, which is helping you store fat. So that's another reason that that it's not just about counting calories. Hey, from Minot, Maine. I've never heard of Minot, Maine before, Katie. Good morning. My dad grew up near Minot, North Dakota. So Minot's a city name that I don't hear very often, much less from Maine, but welcome. Okay, so when we're doing this whole calorie restriction, I see people be like, oh, get rid of that avocado. Avocados are great in nutrients, high in fats, and a lot of fiber, are not spiking your insulin. And they're said, instead, have a slice of toast. That is going to go create glucose in your system more rapidly than the avocado ever will, which means you're going to spike your insulin. And now insulin, if you're already insulin resistant, is going to start controlling the show again, and you're going to have a hard time losing fat. A couple of truths about insulin. Insulin is anabolic, just meaning it wants things to grow. Insulin is a saver. So insulin has a number of roles. Its primary role is to transport energy. But as long as insulin is up in your system, you cannot burn fat. Okay, you can't. So maybe you're losing weight. You're probably losing a lot of muscle because insulin is holding on to this fat that it's stored. Glucagon, the component for insulin, is catabolic. It wants to burn things up. So it wants to utilize that fat that got stored. But insulin is primary. So when insulin is out because you ate, spiked up your glucose, and insulin had to come out to grab that glucose and deliver it. Now it's running around in your system. Insulin says, nope, you're not taking what I just saved. So we have to get insulin down. That's where fasting comes in, because fasting allows the insulin to come down, and the glucagon can then come out and play and start removing fats and other things from your body. So is it all about calories? Because doctors like Dr. Bickman would surmise that you could have about the same amount of calories in a 16-8 fast, where you're eating 2 meals at 2 points during the day in about an 8-hour period, and do better than you would having those same calories extended out over 12 or 14 hours in small meals, because of this factor of continually spiking your insulin up and not allowing glucagon to come out. And be aware that when you get insulin spiked, it can take about 8 hours for insulin to come back down so that you could even get into that fat burning state or that metabolically healthy state in the first place. So eat, your glucose goes up, insulin goes up. Eat in 2 hours, insulin is still up because it hasn't had a chance to come down. You're spiking your glucose, and insulin is saying, "Ooh, they're going to keep eating every 2 hours. I need to stay out in this system because I got to protect this person and make sure that all of that energy gets deposited." So when you're eating every 2 hours, you're training your glucose to stay higher or stay out longer instead of allowing it to come down. Metabolic scientists, guys who specialize in the field will tell you intermittent fasting or some type of fasting is key to this. And allowing the glucagon to come out and the insulin to just take a rest is key to all of this. Calories, are they as important? If you have 1,800 calories over a day of eating and spiking your insulin, you're more likely to gain weight probably than you are if you have those same 1,800 calories in 2 meals over 8 hours and give your body a rest the other 16. Just saying. So, by the way, so the tea I'm drinking does not break my fast. I get this question. There was a couple of questions I had when I woke up this morning, and I want to answer that. The tea does the same thing as the GLP-1 medications that are damaging people's bodies. It just does it in a more natural form, allowing your body to feel some satiety, both in your gut and in your brain. It's giving your brain energy, and it's helping you burn fat for fuel by helping ketones be produced in your body. So, and it has a ton of nutrients in it that are really good for you. That's the tea I'm drinking. Then let's go back to fasting. So January 1, those of you guys who want to do it, and I would love to hear from those of you who do, let's talk about an every other day fast. It's not necessary on this, but it's helpful. Christina said, and Christina's doing the system now too. So she tried the GLP-1s and they didn't work at all, but they really messed up her digestive system. Oh, thank you for saying that, because when you guys make comments, it triggers, there's so much information running around this little brain that it feels like a pinball machine. So yeah, cheers, Christina. So I can't remember how the doctor said it, and I was trying to learn because I've never said the word right, and I will admit that. But one of the dangers, besides the shutting down the pancreas because you're overloading the pancreas, trying to produce more insulin to become more insulin sensitive when the insulin was the problem in the first place, why do that? But besides the problems with the liver and the gallbladder that have been occurring with that, besides the muscle loss that have been occurring with those, this thing that you were talking about with your gut is happening to more and more people. Gastroparesis, I don't know how he says it, but basically your intestinal system, your gut, your digestive system starts to freeze up. It works slower. Toxins are sitting in your colon for too long. It gets to be very dangerous because it can get to be like a brick that your body just can't pass through. Now you're having some other issues. People have actually had their gut frozen to the point that I have not heard that they've been able to fix it after those drugs. So 16.8 for 2 weeks now. So Snedgar, let's talk about that too. 3 days every month, live on 24 hours fast. Yeah. So, all right. So the 16.8 for me with the protocol and the 16.8. So understand the protocol I use is 2 scientifically proven food products. They're in the prescriber's digital reference because there's so much science behind them. So we're one of the only companies with food products in the prescriber's digital reference, and it looks like this. I have the tea in the morning, supports my fast, helps me have energy, mental clarity. It helps with healthy gene expression. It has anti-cancer properties in it, all of this good stuff I have in a tea that I drink in the morning. When I'm done with my hot tea, I will start sipping on my cold tea this morning. I have it all day long. It costs me under $2 a packet, which is less than a soda. So I would much rather put that in my body than the other stuff. Okay, so that. But then I'm having this before my meals, 10 minutes before, that's slowing down the blood sugars and the blood fats in my system. And that's how the protocol that I'm talking works. but it is in conjunction with 16/8 fasting. So I had my dinner about 6 o'clock last night, which means that I'm about 15 hours into a fast this morning. I probably won't eat till noon or 1, and then have my dinner again about 6 o'clock tonight. When I do this, and I'll be just drinking the tea and or water all day. The tea or water is what I drink. And then when I do eat, boy, I'm trying to clean out my fridge because I'm moving, so I don't even know what I'm going to have because I know I don't have eggs in there. I have some chicken skewers with bacon on them. That's probably what I'll have for lunch. I'll have this 10 minutes before to help with any glucose spike. Now my insulin levels are down. My glucagon is up. I'm already having some of the health benefits. That's what fasting does for you. Okay, but for me with the system, it took about 6 weeks for me to see weight loss results. For me with the system and fasting, I've noticed results in energy and mental clarity day one. The first week, my blood pressure, I had the first normal blood pressure reading I'd had in 30 years. It was 126/84 in the doctor's office. I'm not going to say that it stayed there right away. It took me about a year to get that extremely high blood pressure of mine down. Within a month or two, I was able to throw away all of my medications because I was just done. I didn't want to take them. I'm not saying anybody else should do that. That's what I chose for myself. But I threw away 10 different medications. I literally pulled up the garbage can, swept all the medications off of my counter into the garbage because I was just done taking medications that I knew were damaging me. And then a year later, my blood pressure was under control. A year later, I had my labs done, and my labs, as far as like A1C glucose, the metabolic panel, all of that was in normal range, and my blood pressure was normal, and I hadn't been on medications in over a year. Now it's 2.5 years since I've been on any medications, and all of that continues to be true as my body heals. Okay, so any other, did I miss anything? So for me with the weight, so I noticed those results right away. The weight loss. When we talk about weight loss, I want you guys to think about it. I know most of you guys have heard. Stop looking at just the scale. So when you're looking at the scale, you're looking for that overall weight loss, but we got to understand that muscle per volume weighs more than fat. So you could be losing weight, but you could be like with Ozempic and these drugs, you could be losing a lot of muscle to get that fat loss. Okay, what we want to do is keep the muscle and allow the fat to come down, and that's going to be a slower weight loss. And at first, if you're insulin resistant, you're resistant to putting on muscle anyway. When you start to allow your body to function properly, you're probably having this go on. So your muscle levels are low in your body when you're insulin resistant, and your fat levels are pretty high. So as you start to become more insulin sensitive and use like the protocol and the 16/8 fast, your muscle tissue is starting to build and the fat loss is coming down. So you may not, like I didn't, see any difference on the scale for a month, 6 weeks. I've had some people say 3 months because they were losing so much fat, but putting them back on healthy tissue. And it's not just muscle. We're talking ligaments and bone density and all of that that's at risk with insulin resistance that starts to heal when you do it the right way. Calorie counting and that extreme calorie is depleting this more while getting this down. So you're not building that health, which is why I have a problem with just calorie counting methods. Okay. So we'll help with brain fog. So let's talk about that. Brain fog in the body and insulin resistance. One of the biggest reasons we're experiencing so much brain fog, but also anxiety and depression, if you have brain fog, you're probably experiencing those two things as well. Understand that when you have a body that's resistant to insulin, meaning it can't take up the energy or the glucose that's in your system when it needs to, you're going to start to experience problems. The brain needs glucose for energy. So if you're insulin resistant and your brain is getting insulin resistant at the same time as the rest of your body, but things like Alzheimer's is just an insulin resistant brain for most people. So we need to get energy to the brain. But if the brain cells are resistant, and do you guys understand what this means? I'll stop and explain that. But when the brain cells are resistant, you are not getting the energy and the brain function. The firing between neurons and whatnot in the brain is not happening properly. They're not firing together. They're firing wildly outside, and you're just not getting the right signals. your brain is tired and it's hungry and it needs energy. And of course, like if you're extremely depleted in food, your body slows down and you're just weak. That's what's going on in your brain. Brain fog is I'm going to say this. Brain fog is like a weakness in your brain where it just hasn't been able to get enough energy and now it's tired. So it just can't function right. We need to get energy back into the brain, which means glucose back into the brain. But not only do we need to get glucose in there, we need to get the cells to accept it. So we're gonna do a little visual. Okay, so your cells, they have these little receptors that stick out for hormones. Some of them have hormone receptors for thyroid or estrogen or leptin or ghrelin or whatever, but all cells have receptors, these little things that are sticking out for insulin. What this does is insulin comes in, and when it hits those receptors that are sticking out, it's like unlocking a key, unlocking a door that says, oh, let's take in what insulin is delivering. It's not the insulin that needs to get in the cell. It's the glucose that insulin is carrying. But when we have insulin resistance, it's like this. The cells start to puff up and some of them become actually inflamed, and you have inflammation in your body with insulin resistance as well. But now these cells, receptors are not showing up and they're just like, oh, I'm not going to accept that key. So insulin comes in, it cannot deliver that energy, and we need to get those cells more receptive to insulin again. Now, getting them insulin resistant happens much quicker than it takes to get them insulin sensitive again. But this is happening in your brain, and that's why you're having brain fog. You're not able to get energy into the brain. And even when you have things like serotonin and dopamine, if those cells are inflamed, now not only is it putting at risk the insulin receptors, it's putting at risk receptors for that serotonin and dopamine, for all these other hormones that you need in the brain. It's starting to not be able to take those up as well either. Okay, so we've got to get the brain more insulin sensitive. The tea helps with that. So the tea has chlorogenic acids. It's a big word, but just means that it's delivering energy to the brain. Okay, so there's a few things that can cross what we call the blood-brain barrier. Your brain, you have to have that brain, right? So your body is really good at protecting your brain, and it's called the blood-brain barrier. Not everything that you ingest is going to be able to cross that barrier. It's like this big guard that says, nope, you look like you could be dangerous to this brain. We're not letting you in. Oh, you chlorogenic acids, you're really beneficial. Come on in. So your brain allows the chlorogenic acids to come in. This has 375 times more chlorogenic acids than a normal yerba mate tea, and it's much higher in chlorogenic acids than even coffee. This gets into the brain and allows the brain to start functioning more naturally. So you'll notice more mental clarity and energy when you start drinking the tea. My brain fog went away. My depression, my anxiety started to go away. My panic attacks started to go away. There's actual studies on this that show that people who drink the Unamate tea, within 30 days have an increased wellness score by 75%. Anxiety is down, depression is down, brain fog is going down within 30 days of using the tea, 1 packet a day consistently. In Cameroon, we're not available. I don't know if Cameroon, I'm going to show you guys something. You need to get a hold of me personally, and let's take a look. I don't know that it's available in Cameroon. I know the system, as far as the protocol, is not, but let's talk about how we can get it to you, okay? So just message me, you guys, if you go to my profile page on TikTok, and click on the picture above this live that has my picture, just like this. A white box will come up below. Click on that again. You're going to get to this page. When you see these red lights right here, click on those right here, this link right here. That'll get you to my landing page. And at the bottom of this, there should be right here, contact me on WhatsApp. So from Cameroon, just download WhatsApp, use that link to contact me, and let's talk and see what we can do to help you, okay? But that's why I have the WhatsApp there. You can contact me from anywhere in the world. And then if you want to order the system, it's the very top link up there. All right, so back to talking about this insulin resistance thing. Boy, guys, I slept in today. I'm not gonna lie. My kids my kids talked me into doing some gaming, and it's great because I have, family back on the West Coast and I'm out on the East Coast, and more than anything, it's a really great time for us to all have some communication together with keeping the kids invested. So it's great family time for me right now, and we were up late playing. Okay, so basically, this is me. This was me when I started. This is me more recently back in the gym, able to lift weights, feeling good. By the way, let's all talk about that too. Our body size and our body shape. I obviously am more stout. I have more muscle mass than most people. I have a different build than a lot of people. I will never be that thin rail, kind of like my good friend Steffi. I will never be tall and thin like her. I have a different build. I have a different bone structure. You guys be kind to yourselves. Understand that your body does not need to look like somebody else's to be perfect. You need to pay attention to the health and how your body is acting and what's going on with your body, and stop trying to be like somebody else, and understand that your health is the most important thing. Looking like somebody else is not. Okay. So you're using the system for 3 weeks and nothing changed about your sugar. Okay. So I'm kind of chuckling because I went through the same thing, Orhan. So I was on the system for a month and I hadn't lost any weight. I knew that I had more energy. I knew that I had more mental clarity. Yeah, I had the great news about the blood pressure, but I was so focused on my weight that I was kind of pissed off, honestly. I'm like, I haven't lost any weight. I had to lose weight in order to have a hernia surgery. The little blonde doctor was like, I'm not going to do this surgery unless you lose 15 pounds. And I hadn't lost any weight a month in. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, I got to have this surgery and I've got to lose this weight. By 6 weeks in, my body had adjusted and I was starting to lose weight. I lost more, almost double of what that doctor wanted me to lose before the surgery, and she was shocked. When they cut me open, they said I had less visceral fat in there than they would have ever expected, and that's because of the system. Now, your body is changing and it's doing a number of things. Your sugar levels, I don't know how high they were, but if your sugar levels are high and you are not giving your body time to get those out. So look, when your sugar levels are high and you've put weight on, you're storing fat, you're storing sugar throughout your body. As you're losing weight, you may still have some high sugars. So for some people, about a third of people, their sugars can remain high or even go higher as that sugar is releasing from their system. You have to give it time. This is not a, I destroyed my body over 20 years, but overnight I'm going to fix it. In 3 weeks, I'm going to fix what I did over 20 years of time. This is a natural system, a food-based system that's giving you back what your body needs. And then that's what's going to make the difference. So you just got to be patient and start focusing on all the other stuff that's happening. Is your energy up? Is your mental clarity back? For me, my skin tags were going away. The dark skin patches that everybody, you guys, if you have dark skin patches, that's an idea of diabetes. So I had dark skin patches that were all the way around my elbow and all the way down here, and it was rough and scaly. I was constantly cleaning it. I've heard people say their family members were rubbing lemon on it, thinking, they were just dirty or whatever. It's not dirt, it's insulin resistance. I don't have any of that. That was going away. My leg cramps were going away. I had so many other things happen, but not weight loss. I did go try on some clothes that I'd gotten that were way too tight when I started. In 4 weeks, I tried those same clothes on and they were already loose, but the weight on the scale hadn't changed. My A1C, I was good. I didn't wait for my blood sugars I waited for 3 months before I had them checked. Mine went from 7.4 to 6.3 in the first 3 months, and they're now at about 5.3. It took me 6 months to get them back into normal range at about 5.6, but it's a natural system. You've got to, that's why I tell people give it 90 days. There's a 90-day money back guarantee on the system. give it the 90 days and see what your body can do. Plus that, I don't know if you're following the intermittent fasting correctly. I don't know if you're talking to your coach and utilizing them and understanding all of the other little intricacies of how you should be doing this. Regulating your glucose. Are you just eating twice a day? Are you having snacks? There's a lot I don't know. Okay, so the WhatsApp, if you don't have WhatsApp downloaded, you can't access mine. WhatsApp is free. Just download it and then you can contact me, or you can just message me here, and then I'll answer here on TikTok. Okay. Um, okay. So um, if you have people here in the U.S., you're going to do the same thing. You're just going to send, and I can send you, message me privately, because it won't let me do it in the live. It will just blot out the link for you to be able to purchase. But I will try to remember to send you a message after the live. I do have a call to hop on. If you can't get WhatsApp, I'll get you the link somehow. But you just use the link in my bio. Click on that. The top one is where you're going to click to buy. You guys, by the way, it should say Michelle Fayant above that top page. If it doesn't say Michelle Fayant, you're not getting connected to me. I can't reach out and help you. I don't even know that you've purchased if you don't do that. If you buy from Amazon, Walmart, eBay, by the way, you're not getting the guarantees. You're not getting the low price guarantee. You're not getting the 90-day money guarantee because there are no authorized sellers. When you use my link, you're going directly to the company website to purchase. They're delivering it to you. I'm not. Okay. So just use my profile, find the link there, or message me after the live. Orhan, I hope that helps. And you guys, sometimes I'm a little direct and blunt, but I really just want to get the information out to you guys so you can understand what's going on. I don't want to pussyfoot or dance around the bushes and get everybody confused. I just want you to have the information you need so that you can make the best choice for yourself. And sometimes that looks like me being a little blunt, and it has nothing to do with whether I care or not. It's just my personality, because I want people to get help. Okay. All right. So any other questions? I know my head is like, okay. And I want to come back to the 36 and 12 fast. Is it okay if we talk about that fast that I'm going to start in January and why the benefits of it and how easy it actually is? Yeah, you're very welcome, Orhan. So the 36 and 12 fast, or every other day fast. Look, most of you guys are already doing a 16-8 fast. So picture this. And for me, it works because I have ADHD. This helps me tremendously because of impulse control and whatnot. When I wake up and I'm doing a 36 and 12 fast on the mental part, right? I know that I'm normally fasting until 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon anyway. Now, if I just make it through the rest of the day with that fast, I'm increasing my fasting benefits, which we're going to talk about. But I know that pretty soon, by like 6 o'clock, I'll be at a 24-hour fasted period. By 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, I'm going to bed and I'm sleeping off the rest of it. And pretty soon, I wake up in the morning and I've gone 36 hours fasting. We're going to go over the benefits of a 36 fast. It is not necessary to do that with this. I'm just going to do this challenge at the beginning of the year. So I want you guys to understand it and decide if you want to hop on with us that are going to do it. So 36 hours. Then the next morning I wake up and I can eat. Now, does that mean I want to wake up and have pancakes? No, I want to wake up and have something high in fats, something high in protein. And so for me, what I found that works the best, because I hop on these lives, I created some shakes that are high in fat, high in protein that I drink first thing in the morning. And then I can have 2 meals that day. I have a 12-hour period where I can eat. Does it mean I'm going to be snacking and eating sugary carbohydrate foods all day? No. But it means that my caloric intake can be up about 40% during that day. So it's not like I'm eating the same amount as I would on a 16-8 fast in the day, because I'm not. So 36 hours of fasting, I just don't eat one day. The next day, I get all my food in within a 12-hour period. Caloric intake is up. I'm really focusing on proteins and fats, getting in some carbohydrates too. And you start to see your cells turn over. You guys understand a couple of things before I hop off today. When our cells are constantly regenerating, we are living, breathing organisms, and our cells are turning over in our body all the time. When we're young, we have these healthy cells, and so the cells are replicating from healthy cells. As we age and as we do damage to our body, our cells are becoming diseased and sick, and we're replicating from those diseased and sick cells. Now, when we're doing some fasting, we're helping get rid of those really diseased and sick cells and allowing slowly some return to a healthier cell type. That's partly how my hormones have gotten normalized. That's how, if you go back and look 2 years ago at my videos right after I lost the 55 pounds, I had this neck that really hung down and wobbled when I talked, turkey neck. Look at it now, okay? This is from fasting and continuing to do the protocol. At 60 years old, this is what my chin looks like because I've done this fasting. The fasting is going to help tighten up your skin and give you clarity there. It's going to help regenerate gut cells, balance your microbiome. It's going to help you burn fat for fuel. It's going to help you get to a more metabolically stable state when you've been insulin resistant for a long time. If you've been insulin resistant for a long time, the truth is you're going to need to do some extended fasting to get that metabolism back. The system helps with, so the T, again, let's do this. The T is energy, mental clarity, weight loss. The pre-meal drink is balancing your blood sugars and helping with your blood sugar and fat levels. Both of them help with healthy heart rate and this whole thing called insulin resistance. This has a lot of actions like the GLP-1s that people are taking, Wegovy, Mounjaro, whatnot, but it's natural and it's food and it's not giving your body those negative side effects of the medications. Yay, Curly. You know what? There's one person that I have not reached out to, and it may be you. Did you, if you ordered from me, have you gotten an email from me yet? Because I got off track with everything going on. Where do you get the stuff from? You're in Canada. You use the same link. The link that I have on my page works anywhere in the world that we're available. And right now, we're over in over 34 countries worldwide. A year ago, we were in 20. We're continually working as hard as we can to get open in as many countries as we can because the company really understands how much people are suffering and they want to get it out there to people. So Canada, you're just going to use the same link. UK, Ireland, UAE, Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, you're going to use that same link. 34 countries. That link opens up based on your IP address. So if you're in Canada, it's going to recognize that IP address and it's going to open up the Canadian website for the company. If you're in the UK, it's going to open up that website. If you're in Australia, it's going to open up that website. Okay, so it's that one link that you're going to get it no matter where you're at in the world. Sleep apnea. So there's a couple of things with, so Curly, talk to me when the stuff comes in and let's get you started. I get so excited when people get started. I'm like a little 3-year-old in a 60-year-old body, for God's sakes. Ask my kids. It's true. That's why I get along so well with my grandkids, because I'm just a big kid myself. All right, sleep apnea. There's a couple of actions happening with sleep apnea, all right? We were talking about the brain earlier and how the brain needs energy and how it's not getting energy when you're insulin resistant. And this whole misfiring of neurons in there, plus there's misfiring of other components going on in your brain that are not allowing you to shut your mind down and sleep, but the sleep apnea and the breathing part of sleep apnea. One of the biggest ways that I like to talk about that this is contributing to sleep apnea, besides the brain function just being off, like, look, I had sleep apnea that I woke up 60 times an hour before I started the system. 60 times, not a night, an hour. That means about every minute I was unable to breathe and waking up. I was tired. Cortisol was out of whack. Insulin was getting worse. Like, all of it was bad, right? But with insulin resistance, one of the things that happens, so did you clicked on the link in WhatsApp and it's not able to connect you to me? PS? So with insulin resistance, your brain is cueing you to store more visceral fat, the brown fat underneath the belly wall, than it does the subcutaneous fat. Now, this is interesting because I didn't even realize this until a couple of months ago. Everybody always talked about visceral fat as like from the neck to the groin, right? That muscle wall across the middle of your body. Misty says she's on the system and lost 35 pounds. Yay. That's amazing. Okay, so the visceral fat, though, actually extends all the way up to your tongue. So the back of your throat and your tongue starts gaining more fat. And that's when you look at my picture up here, which you can hardly see, but you'll see that big neck. So you're getting fat here. You're also getting something called fat tongue. When I went through my sleep studies and all of that, they said you have this condition called fat tongue. They were going to cut a slit in my tongue and inject chemicals into it to slow down that fat bed, that visceral fat in my tongue, so that I could sleep better. Because part of it is your tongue is getting fat and falling back when you're laying back. It's falling back in your throat and shutting off that airway. Now you're trying to breathe. Sometimes you're just not getting the cue to breathe. I hold my breath a lot, even when I'm awake, much less now. Some brain cues that are not happening to tell my body to breathe. So there's those two things that are happening with sleep apnea. They both link into insulin resistance. My sleep apnea, you guys, I slept like a baby. I didn't go to bed until about midnight. I didn't wake up until like 7:30, and I'm like, oh shoot, I got to get up and get going. That wouldn't have happened 2 years ago. I'd have been up and down all night, rolling and tossing and turning between my ADHD and the sleep apnea. I wouldn't have been able to sleep. Okay. So Charlotte, go to my profile picture up here, tap on that. When the white box comes up below, tap on that. You're going to get to my link tree, and I'll show you that here again in a second. Use the top link there to order. It will take you straight to the company website. When you use that, make sure it says Michelle Fayon at the top. I'm going to send you emails. I'm going to send you texts. You get to talk to me. I talk to my customers that want to talk to me, and we get you there. Okay. I will help. And I love hearing everybody's stories. So Misty is doing that right now. So she's also off all her meds. Misty, how long have you been doing the system? So I ditched all my meds 2.5 years ago, every single one. Can I address this too before I get off? And then Sean, I'm going to call you. So look, I was on 10 different meds. When people say $5 a day is too much, I get it, you guys. Single grandma, struggling. My health was failing. I was driving for Lyft and Uber at the time. I'm like, how am I going to pay $150 a month for this stuff? But I just knew that I was dying. I was literally dying. My heart was so stressed. It was probably about to give out. We kind of know that now. I had neuropathy. I couldn't walk. I had that walker and cane up there. I was miserable, and I didn't think I was going to live to see 70. So I'm just like, I got to try it. I got to do something. I can't be a burden to my kids. I'm not ready. They're not ready. Let's fix this. I tried the system. I was able to throw away 10 meds. 10 meds at about $10 a copay is $100 a month in medications that I was on. That covers most of it. The doctor's visits, I was at the doctor's office twice a month. The gas, the time, the everything to get to the doctor and back, that's gone. I'm eating less food. That's gone. I'm eating healthier food. People say it's hard to eat healthy because it's more expensive. No, stop that mindset. It's more expensive to eat the cheap, crappy food because it's making you sick and it's making you hungrier. When you're eating the cheap, crappy food that's turning into energy too quickly in your system, junk energy in your system, you're hungrier. And so you're going to eat more. When you eat healthier food, your body's more satiated and you're buying less food. 3 months on the system. So in 3 months, you've lost 35 pounds. Her blood glucose levels are down, and she's off of all of her medications. Where's my bell? See, that's the stuff I love to hear. And that's what can happen, but you have to stay consistent. And if you're frustrated because you don't understand, that's why you have a coach that can help you. So don't trust the people who say you can eat whatever you want, because that's just simply not true. I eat like I want, but I don't just eat whatever I want. That would be ridiculous. To say you can have cake and ice cream every day and just drink this packet and it's going to fix you, that's wrong. Do I still have, it was a busy weekend. My grandson's in Cub Scouts. We were traveling and doing lots of stuff. So like I had a chicken sandwich from Wendy's one day. After the parade, it was so busy. So we dipped into a little local pizzeria and had a slice of pizza. Is that perfect? No. Do I do it every day? No. Can I do it and still stay healthy on the system? Yes. If you can't manage that and you need a coach, am I here for you? Yes. Does it cost you extra for the coaching? Nope, not at all. Okay. So the product, you're just going to go to my profile and get it there. You guys, I protect that because look, two things. I put a lot of time and effort into educating you guys. I want to coach you. I want to help you with it. And then I've had this is for you. Okay. If I just start saying what the name of the product is in here, people run to Amazon, eBay, Walmart, they buy it. Then they're mad because they didn't get coaching. They're mad because they didn't get support. They're upset because they're not getting the results they wanted. They're upset because they're not getting the guarantees. Please don't go to those places and buy it. You're gonna, if you use my link, you're gonna go directly to the company website and purchase. It's all there. I also have a website that talks about all of it. It's all in my profile. Whew, okay, so kidney disease. What you need to do, Jasmine and Ella, is get your insulin under control. Just flat out. I'm not a doctor. Let's start with this. I'm not a doctor. I cannot diagnose. With the knowledge I have from metabolism, from people who've had kidney disease, stage 3 kidney disease, and reversed it, and what I understand now about it, doctors like Dr. Fung was a kidney specialist and realized that what was causing the most kidney function failure is insulin resistance. When you're insulin resistant, it's messing with how your kidneys function. It's messing with how you metabolize protein, which is putting a bigger load on your kidneys. It's messing with the fact that your kidneys can't offload salts, and so now your blood pressure is up. You have a whole bunch of problems, and it all starts with insulin. Honey, get your insulin resistance under control to save and protect that kidney that's left. That's earnest. Get your insulin resistance under control. I chose to do it with the protocol that I'm doing. I'm about to finish my tea now. A tea in the morning and a pre-meal drink before I eat my first 2 biggest meals of the day, combined with some intermittent fasting. And that's it. You have insulin resistance. You've been diagnosed. Literally tried everything. Will this work? It does work, Kristen. If you're consistent and you utilize it, it will work. Jasmine and Ella, there's some special ways to get it to you in South Africa. We are open there, but I would need to talk to you specifically because currently it's a little different to get it to you in South Africa on a one system basis. If you're at a place where you can order 10 at a time, I can absolutely get it to you, and then you could help your family and friends out with it, become a distributor and start helping people and help your income too. We can do it that way. But right now, there's not a way to just get one system to you in South Africa. If you're interested, get a hold of me. I'd love to get you going and get you help. Okay. So yes, the system, by the way, will it work? Let's take a look at the 2 components of the system. Originally, people were just using the balance. This is great at blood sugar regulation and lipid regulation, helping with cholesterol issues and helping you in the moment with filling you up a little quicker so you're not overeating, helping slow down the delivery of that food so you stay full longer and you're not overeating and having breakthrough snacking. This one does all of that. But about 3 years ago, they were like, wait a minute, when we add this to it, which acts like a GLP-1, we're noticing satiety at a higher level. We're noticing a higher fat burning level. We're noticing better metabolic levels and brain function levels with this. So we do this during the fasting window because it doesn't break it. And then we do this 10 minutes before our meals. And then that gives us the complete system that's lowering blood sugars. There is a 90-day money-back guarantee that it will lower your A1C, your blood sugars, and your lipids in those 90 days, or you get your money back. So does it work? Yeah, it does. And it did for me. But no weight loss. Kirsten, are you... So weight loss, are you on the system, Kirsten? So I need to know that first, and then let's talk about... Yeah, the system does work. Thank you, Misty. The system works amazing when you have a coach and you utilize it like it's supposed to be. It is not a magic bullet. It's not. So don't think that you're going to go out and eat crappy and live the way you've been living and just do all of that stuff and change your life, because you're not. Look, it takes change to make change. We have a nasty, negative food environment, but like somebody was on earlier and said they got rid of all processed foods. We all want to work towards that, right? But how many of us, okay, she didn't get an email, so Curly, I'll get you those emails today, and then my phone number's in there. Let's chat, okay? So you're not in the system. All right. So all right, that helps me a little bit. So if you're insulin resistant, so did they test your insulin levels? I'd like to know that. So one of the doctors I was listening to this morning, who is an insulin resistance expert, was saying, and this was great information for me, it's 10 millimoles per deciliter or less that you should have in your blood work in order for you to say that your insulin levels are okay. Even at that, insulin could be causing some resistance in your system. But just so you know, they don't normally test insulin levels on your complete metabolic panel or your annual physical. It's not a test that they normally test. So if they're just going by your A1C and your blood glucose and your lipids to say your insulin levels are fine, that's not going to tell you. Okay. So, and if you do have an insulin test and you want to know it's 10 millimoles per deciliter or lower, that should mean you're more insulin sensitive. If it's 15 millimoles per deciliter or higher, you have a problem. Okay, so Trulicity is one of those GLP-1 agonists. It's a medical grade GLP-1 agonist that's helping you feel satiated, but it hasn't addressed the food problems that you have. So it's not slowing down the delivery of glucose into your system. It's not giving you nutrients. It's not getting nutrients to your brain. It's simply shutting down your hunger and allowing your body to take up insulin in some places in your fat cells. It can also increase the amount of fat cells you have. So when you come off of it, now you got more places to put that. If you haven't addressed the food, you haven't addressed the problem. So Sean, it's a fasting insulin test. You guys get out a piece of paper and pen. I'm going to give you the calculation that will help you with your current blood work to know if this is you. Okay. And then we'll talk about a couple of other ways that you can tell. You got your pen and paper out. I want you to go to your last labs, your last annual labs that have the CMP, complete metabolic panel. You're going to go to your lipid panel where they talk about your fats. And in your chart, it may be over 3 or 4 different pages that it shows this. So they're going to have an overall cholesterol level. They're going to have a triglyceride level. They're going to have an HDL, and they're going to have an LDL. The two that we want to look at are your triglyceride number and your HDL, your high density lipoproteins, okay? HDL, not your LDL. This calculation I'm going to give you is going to tell you how at risk you are for heart disease and insulin resistance. Take your triglycerides, divide them by your HDL, high density, not the low density, HDL, okay? Triglycerides divided by HDL. Ideally, that number is 1.5 or lower. If it's 1.5 to 3, you're starting to build a problem, address it. If it's 3 or higher, you have a problem. You need to address it before all of this other stuff starts to happen in your body. That's one test that you can do. A couple of other things that you can do to tell if it's you. Look, if you have that bulging belly, whether you're thin or not, like mine was bulging out, that's a sign of insulin resistance. But on a clinical side, if your blood pressure is 130 over 80 or higher, you are most likely insulin resistant. 95% of high blood pressure comes from insulin resistance. So if that's you and you don't have a genetic disorder, you didn't end up with a viral disease, you have insulin resistance. So start to address it. Now, some other ways you can tell are if you're having that swelling in your joints, if you're having neuropathy, that tingling pain, that's misfiring of your nerves. They're not firing correctly because insulin resistance is messing with it. So instead of it firing one nerve ending to the other, it's kind of firing out everywhere, and you have these little electrical feelings and even pain in your body. That's insulin resistance. Brain fog, fatigue, migraine, headaches, that's insulin resistance. The more of these that you stack on top of each other, the more it means you're insulin resistant. Now, can you have some of these and not be insulin resistant? You're so welcome, Sean. Can you have some and not be insulin resistant? Absolutely, absolutely you can. But if you start going, I have this one and I have the second one and I have a third one, you're probably very insulin resistant. You have a fourth and fifth one, address your insulin resistance. Okay, so those are all ways you can tell. A couple of the top 5 ways that Bickman and Fung and all these guys talk about are these. So it's going to be that blood pressure, right, or the big bulging belly. But then we're going to take a look at your skin. If you have skin tags, that's insulin resistance. If you have those dark skin patches, acanthosis nigricans, you have dark skin rings around your neck, you have melasma on your face, you have dark skin patches on your elbows, your knees, under your arms, anywhere where your skin rubs, that's insulin resistance. It's just those 2 things are your skin's early warning signs saying, hey, there's a problem inside here, let's address it. I'll tell you how to fix it in 1 second. The other 2 ways that I haven't addressed yet this morning are PCOS and erectile dysfunction. According to Bickman, Dr. Ben Bickman, I keep saying his name as if you guys all know him as well as I do. He wrote this book, Why We Get Sick. He's also touted as one of the top metabolic scientists in the world. They call him the metabolic doctor because he knows more about metabolism than just about anyone on the planet. He says that PCOS and erectile dysfunction are simply metabolic infertility. It's how the metabolism and insulin is messing with the conversion of hormones in your body. Very different for men and women. PCOS, your body can't convert that testosterone or androgens into the estrogens you need, so your periods are going longer. You're having facial hair, you're having hair loss, you're having aggression issues, you're having all of these fatigue and tiredness, and you're just gaining weight rapidly. That's fertility, infertility led by insulin resistance. Erectile dysfunction, very similar. Although your body's converting more testosterone into estrogen than it should be, and then you're gaining weight, and those fat cells are acting like little ovaries in a man's body, converting more and more testosterone into estrogen. Now you have a problem, and then you also have vascular issues, so you just can't get enough blood flow to that area. All right, so how to fix it? We have to understand that our food is causing the problem. Food that's turning into energy too quickly and that we're eating too often. Eating every 2 hours is killing your metabolism. It's destroying your metabolism. So we got to do some intermittent fasting. Our bodies, our genetics were not made to eat all the time. We have ads for food. We have food that's not filling us up. So we're eating constantly. And every time we eat, it converts into glucose, which but calls for insulin in our body. We've got to stop eating so much. We need to address the fact that those foods are converting into glucose too quickly. Why is that happening? I haven't even addressed this morning, but why it's happening is because it's stripped of fiber. So how did our food go from tiny and crunchy and a little bit bitter and a little bit sweet to these huge, juicy, sweet things we have? They figured out how to manufacture fibers out. They processed your food and stripped fibers, nutrients, enzymes out of your food to create the packaged food that you have that converts into glucose too quickly. So how do we fix it? We start addressing the food, not the medication. You guys, it's not a medication deficiency. Does anybody feel like they're deficient on a medication? Because we're not, right? Like medications are not what we're deficient in that's causing us to be sick. It's the food that we're eating that's causing our illness. And more doctors are talking about the fact that our food is what's causing our illness. And if and until we address that, we're not going to get better. We're going to get sicker. We're going to have more problems. Address the food insufficiencies and we can start to get better. We are not deficient in medications. This is not what we're deficient in. This is not what's causing us to be sick. Taking more of that's not going to create health for you. Is it going to get some numbers under control so your doctor can check that box off on their list? Yes. But is it going to fix the problem? No. You have to understand fibers Nutrients, phytoenzymes have been stripped from your food. What we need to do is put them back. And that's basically nuts and bolts of what the system is doing. So many more doctors are talking about the super nutrient that we all need that most of us are not getting. And that one super nutrient is fiber. And when we can get fiber back in our system, the right kinds of fiber to help with our glucose levels, to help with our lipid levels, to help with slowing down our digestion, or not our digestion, but the digestive of food through our system, we can start to become more insulin sensitive. So this is not taking psyllium husk to clean your colon out to push that food through. This is reducing some of those things, and it takes specific fibers. That's why I use the protocol, because I don't want to have to think about having all the right fibers with me all the time wherever I'm at, and in my fridge, all of that. Look, I live in the same world you guys do. I'm just as busy as anyone else. This is where I get my fiber from. This amount of fiber that's in this packet, one of the doctors I was listening to said that amount of fiber can increase your longevity by 10 to 15 years. It's so important to our system, and it's the one thing that's been stripped out and making us sick. So that's what we're going to do to fix it. Now, if you are interested in the protocol, the system that I'm doing, that Mitzi's doing, that somebody's other people are talking about, go to my profile. There's a link in there that will take you directly to the company website where you can purchase it and know that you're getting the 90-day money-back guarantee, you're getting my coaching, you're getting the quality guarantee, and you're getting the low price guarantee. I can't tell you how many people have called me and finally admitted that they got it on Amazon, eBay, Walmart, and they're paying way more than they should, and then they're frustrated because they didn't get coaching and they didn't understand. Can kids age 14 and 18 do this too? I have 3 of my grandkids doing the system. We have an 18-month-old who drinks her daddy's fiber every time before she eats, and she even drinks some of his tea. Would I give an 18-month-old a full packet? No. But I have a 12 and 13-year-old who are both doing the system. My 12-year-old granddaughter, 2 years ago, I moved up to Washington State to help my daughter with those kids. I got to the house. My granddaughter was showing signs of diabetes. She had the dark skin patches. She had like a puffy face. She was having mood disorders. She was having a number of problems and struggles. And I started to realize that that little girl thought she was eating healthy. She was drinking a lot of fruit juice and she was eating a lot of fruit. When they would have a free night to eat, the other kids were grabbing something with a little bit of protein in it. She was grabbing almost all fruits, no proteins. And I'm like, oh, honey, we got to fix this. She didn't want to hear me. We finally took her in. She got diagnosed with prediabetes. And eventually we finally got her doing the system at 11 years old. Her labs came back now. She no longer has prediabetes. She's dropped weight. Her mental clarity is back. Her mood is back. She's doing wonderful. Her 13-year-old brother has ADHD, was having tons of behavioral problems, a little bit of weight problems. He now has more muscle. He's doing better in school. So both of them are doing it. Yes. 14 and 18 can absolutely do it. I also have a type 1 diabetic young boy up in North Idaho who lost 35 pounds. He started it at about age 10 and is doing this. It cannot get rid of type 1 diabetes. You guys, type 1 diabetes means your pancreas is not producing insulin. And so now you're having this glucose regulation problem and you're having to take insulin for it. But type 1 diabetics are having the same problem as type 2 diabetics in that food is turning into glucose too quickly. So that's increasing your need for fast-acting insulin, and it's increasing your need for long-acting insulin as well. And this young man that I was just talking about almost never has to use fast-acting insulin unless he gets out of control. And his long-acting insulin is down by about 40%. And I have other people who've done the same. So once you're type 1, you're not going to be there. Understand also, this is I'm glad you asked that, but LADA, latent onset diabetes, is really when your pancreas is so overloaded from producing so much insulin all the time that it shuts down and now you become type 1 diabetic. Your pancreas just shut down. By the way, when you're doing all these medications and you're forcing your pancreas to produce more of what it's already overproducing, you're at risk for turning your type 2 diabetes into type 1 diabetes. It depends on the tea that you're drinking. This particular tea, I have people who have healed their kidneys by doing this. and it's not the tea that healed the kidneys, it's the getting the insulin under control that heals the kidneys. This has properties in it that help you become more insulin sensitive. So I just did some videos on kidney stones, and if I need to do a more in-depth one, because I try to keep them about a minute, let me know and I'll do a more in-depth video on kidney stones. But insulin resistance is what's causing your kidney stones. So this is not causing kidney stones. It's helping through the actions of getting you more insulin sensitive for your kidneys to function more properly. That's my thought on it. So this tea is, the Argentinians who harvest it call it the food of the gods for a good reason. It's so dense in nutrients, and our form is about 375 times more potent than the normal bagged herbal mate teas, plus it's been removed of pesticides and toxins. So my thoughts are, if you're having problems with kidney stones, I would get my insulin resistance under control. I would probably be drinking this tea just like I am and I did for my heart. My liver, not kidney, but my liver function was going when I started this, and my liver function is back. But that means if my liver function was going, it probably was having problems with my kidneys too. And I would just, this particular tea, I would drink. But that's my thoughts, okay? That's my thoughts. I'll drop the link back over here for you guys on Facebook again. That's where you're going to find the system, by the way. Okay, so is it good for pregnant women? Although they have to put the warning on there not to use it when you're pregnant. We've had a number of pregnant women utilize it. It is, so the tea and the fiber both, you can go to unicityscience.org. There's a ton of let's just, I'm gonna go to the website. Okay, hang on. Guys, we're gonna do this. So yes, there are scientific studies and doctor approvals. We have now that the system has been out for a few years, we have several cardiologists, we have neurologists, we have oncologists, we have endocrinologists who are all recommending the system. And the doctors who are like whatever about it have not tried it. The doctors who have actually utilized the system, and I will get this video up from a pharmacist today, but the doctors who have utilized the system and seen and felt the benefits are now prescribing it to their patients. And it is in the prescriber's digital reference, which means you can find it there. So let's take a look at all of that. So let's get rid of this and turn this around, and I'll show you guys. Okay, so unicityscience.org. There is a ton of research on these products. So this is not just like, oh, we've created these products because everybody else says they're great. The Feel Great program improves cardiometabolic outcomes in healthy adults. There are study after study, the clinical impact of fiber supplementation on cardiovascular risk parameters. All of this stuff, you can go there and look at it. But you can also go to the PDR, the prescriber's digital reference. Sorry, my teacup's in the way. So right there, I'm trying to get to that. PDR, okay, prescriber's digital reference. The tea that I'm talking about is Unimate, and it's right here in the prescriber's digital reference. So it talks about it. It's all there. Okay. And it talks about the benefits. Now, if there was any prescribing issues, like a kid can't use it or any of that, it would be listed here. That's what the prescriber's digital reference is for. Your pharmacist is supposed to be using this, and your doctor is supposed to be using this because it's where the medications are listed. This particular company is the only company with 18 different food-based natural products in that reference. We are a science company. We've been around since 1903. It is not some fly-by-night, oh, this is the supplement of the moment, and so we're going to market it. They do science for every product that they put out before it comes out to the market. I hope that answers it. You can have black coffee, yeah. A lot of people will find that they're not craving their black coffee anymore. Some people will have an extra tea. Some people just want the taste of coffee. We do have a black that tastes more like coffee. It's called Unimate Black. It tastes more like coffee, but it has the same benefits of this tea. You could do that. The only thing with coffee that I'm going to say is this. A lot of coffees have a lot of molds and pesticides in them. That's going to cause inflammation in your system. So drink your coffee if you want it, but please do yourself the favor and make sure you're getting a good grade coffee that could be free from some of those things, okay? Good morning, Melba. How are you this morning? And how was your weekend? How was your weekend? Mine was so amazing. I'm going to get my phone was dying. It always happens when I do these events with my family that my phone is almost dead. But I hung out with this little Cub Scout troop, and they had the cutest little float for our Christmas parade. They had a little tent on it and a little fire pit with some fake fire, and they were roasting fake marshmallows and hot dogs on it. It was the cutest thing ever, and we walked the parade with those kids. Really great weekend, but full of getting that float and everything ready. So, okay. Any other questions, you guys? I do need, wow, it's been almost 2 hours. I do need to get on the phone with Sean and answer some questions. You guys, I do really call. I do really text. So please utilize my link. Understand that if you want that connection, if you want that coaching, order through the company. Please do not order from Amazon, Walmart, eBay. Those sellers are not authorized. We found pirated products. We found products that aren't even ours, just packaged similarly, whatever, and you're spending way more. And if you really want to invest in your health, invest in your health, and I'll be there to help you. So, all right, I'm going to go answer these questions, give this call from South Africa. I hope you were able to get through, and I will try to find you here on TikTok. Message me here on TikTok, and we'll try and get this conversation started for you. But yes, pregnant women can do it, so I got off base. But we have, like, the guy who kind of figured out putting the Unimante and the balance together, his wife was pregnant. Their baby's about 2 years old. She did the system the entire time she was pregnant, had one of the healthiest pregnancies and the healthiest baby ever. And yeah, no problems during pregnancy. So you make the choice for yourself. It does have some caffeine in it. So if you're sensitive to caffeine, start with a smaller dose of it. The adaptogens in there help with the way caffeine acts. I went over that earlier, and I can go over that again tomorrow. Children, yes. Pregnancy, yes. But, watch your pregnancy and make sure that you don't have a sensitivity to caffeine, a small amount of caffeine. Other than that, and it does help type 1 diabetics. You guys, it can't cure type 1 diabetes, but it can help type 1 diabetes manage that disease, that horrible, devastating disease, and make their life more normal. We've had it happen for numbers of people. I will be back tomorrow around 8 a.m., and I'm going to go take care of some people. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. I appreciate it. I love every one of you for taking your own health into your hands and trying to get some more education on how you can get better. That speaks volumes for each one of you guys that have been here hanging out with me, and I so love to see that in the world. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day, guys.